Update 4. The part where the truth stops whispering. Up until now, everything has been hints, shadows, warnings, a voicemail with no record, a note at 3:17 in the morning, bruises somebody swore came from a fall, a barbershop torn apart with surgical precision. Everybody been trying to hold it together, trying to be normal, trying to convince themselves that if they move quiet, the danger will move quiet too. But update 4 is where that little lie dies. Receipts start showing up, timelines stop matching, alibis fall apart, and the story everybody's been telling finally collapses under the story that's been waiting. By the time Dante landed at Cedars-Sinai, they'd been living with Walter locked up for almost 2 years. 2 years of court dates, supervised visits, and pretending we're holding on whenever somebody asked how the family was doing. Then the group chat lit up before sunrise. Dante in the ER at Cedars. Got jumped. Stable. No details. No voice notes. Just those 3 lines and a blurry picture of a hospital bracelet. By 9 that morning, the friend group was walking down that long hallway together. That smell of antiseptic and overworked air conditioning hitting all of them at once. Nobody said it out loud, but it felt like they were on their way to visit more trouble, not a victim. Dante was propped up in the bed when they came in, one eye swollen damn near shut, jaw purple and yellow under the skin, lips split, left leg elevated, wrapped and braced. There was a bruise creeping up his ribs you could see even through the gown. He tried to smirk. "Boy, look at you," Michelle said, trying to make it light and failing. "You always gotta do the most." Dante let out a weak laugh that ended in a sharp breath. "Y'all wild. I'm good. Just wrong place, wrong time." Terrell moved in closer, all calm and quiet, like he was just another friend, not one of the best defense attorneys in the city. "What happened?" he asked. Simple, soft, no accusations, just listening. Dante glanced at the heart monitor, then the door. "Couple kids," he said. "Teenagers. I was walking to my car. They came out the alley, pulled something out. I ain't have my wallet in my hand, so I guess they got mad. Started swinging." "Kids did this?" Isla asked, eyebrows raised. "Yeah," Dante said quickly. Too quickly. 16, maybe. You know these little dudes think they grown. Had a pipe or something. Caught me off guard." Sandra stayed at the end of the bed, arms folded, eyes never leaving his face. Every word he said just sank heavier into her chest. She didn't speak, but you could feel the silence from her corner of the room. Brian stood near the window, hands in his pockets, staring at Dante like he was trying not to flinch, because he knew exactly what those kind of injuries felt like on a body. He knew exactly how many hits it took to make your ribs move like that when you breathed. Kiara leaned on the side rail, not too close, not too far, her expression blank in that way that meant she was watching everything, not the words, the delays between them, the way Dante's hand drifted to his ribs when Terrell asked certain questions, the way he kept saying kids instead of they. Taylor hovered by the chair, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Every time Dante mentioned the alley, she looked at the floor. "So they just jumped you and dipped?" Michelle asked. "Nobody saw nothing?" "Middle of the night, Shell," Dante said, voice sharpening. "Ain't nobody out there like that." "That's not true," Sandra said quietly, almost to herself. "Somebody's always out there like that." The room went still for half a second. Then the curtain shifted. It didn't open all the way, just enough for a tall, broad silhouette to slide into view. T. Greaves, hoodie, sweats, hospital visitor wristband loose on his wrist like he owned the place. He didn't say a word. He didn't nod. He didn't greet nobody, and he just looked at Dante. Long, flat, unblinking. Dante's whole body tightened for half a second. His fingers clenched the blanket. His good eye flicked away like that look burned. To let the silence sit there, then let the curtain fall back into place. The little plastic rings rattled across the rail like punctuation. That was the moment everyone in that room understood. Whoever did this to Dante, he was more scared of them than he was of the so-called kids. Out in the hallway, the noise of the hospital swallowed them up. Code calls overhead, wheels squeaking, nurses laughing too hard on too little sleep. Michelle exhaled first. "Okay, so we all in agreement. That story is trash, right?" "Chell," Brian muttered. "Come on." No, she cut in. Look at him. Look at that leg. That's not no couple teenagers with a pipe. That's somebody who knew where to hit. Terrell leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. Here's what's true, he said. Whatever he told us, that's the version he decided on after he survived it. But it's not the whole thing. Isla shook her head. I don't even know how we're supposed to respond. Do we pretend we believe him? Do we press him? I'm tired of guessing what grown men not saying. He's scared, Sandra said softly. Of whoever did it, of whoever might have sent them, of one of y'all asking the right question. Which one is it? Kiara asked, voice low. Sandra's eyes met hers. All of the above. For a second, everybody's attention slid to Kiara. She'd been quiet this whole time. Too quiet. You think this has anything to do with... Michelle glanced around, then lowered her voice. With Walt's case? Kiara's jaw flexed once. I think everything has to do with Walt's case, she said. We just late to accepting that. Brian swallowed. You saying somebody retaliating? Off of rumors? Off of Kendall and them? Kendall doesn't even know enough yet, Kiara said. She got suspicions. I've been feeding her what I can verify, what I can prove. I'm not letting her toss out theories just to go viral. Terrell's head tilted. You been talking to Kendall behind the scenes? Kiara looked straight at him. You've been talking to hospital staff and court clerks behind the scenes, she said. We all doing what we can from our corners. Nobody argued with that. Sandra stepped a little closer to Kiara. Is she ready? She asked quietly. Like, ready? Kiara nodded once. 3 days, she said. She's lining everything up, redacting what she needs to redact, making sure she's not exposing the wrong people. Yet. That night, when visiting hours were over and the morphine drip kept clicking, Dante lay in the dark staring at the ceiling, trying to pretend he was just in pain. He wasn't. He was remembering. Not 9 months ago, not a year and a half ago. 3 nights before, 3:13 a.m. He'd been halfway asleep when the alarm panel near the kitchen door chirped. Just one soft sound, not the full-throated scream of an open door. He frowned, ears straining. The system should have stayed quiet unless a door opened or someone put in a code. There was a tiny pause, then the faintest series of beeps. 4 numbers. His numbers. The alarm shut off. He sat up too fast, heart thudding. By the time his feet hit the hardwood, there were already 2 shadows in the hallway. They didn't run. They didn't yell. They didn't wave guns around. They walked toward him like they were clocking in. Who the... He started. But the first punch stole the words out of his mouth, caught him across the cheekbone so hard he saw static. It wasn't wild swinging, that's what made it worse. They hit like they were following instructions. Face, ribs, thigh, knee, jaw. Every shot placed, every bone targeted, every breath knocked out of him on purpose. He tried to shield his head, tried to roll away. The bigger one grabbed his arm and twisted until something in his shoulder screamed. Please. He choked, blood already metallic on his tongue. Relax, one of them said calmly. If we wanted you gone, you'd be gone. A kick to his side proved it. He gasped, vision blurring. You know why we here, the other one said, leaning down close enough for Dante to smell cigarette smoke and peppermint on his breath. You know who you used. You know who you lied on. You know what you put in motion. I don't... A fist dropped straight into his stomach. He folded. We know it was you, the man murmured, voice almost gentle. And here's the favor. You gonna keep your mouth shut? Because you not even the one we really want. Dante blinked, tears and blood mixing, that sentence rattling around in his skull. You're not even the one we really want. By the time they were done, his leg couldn't hold weight. He felt the crack before he heard it. One of them stepped back, wiped his knuckles on Dante's t-shirt like he was just clocking out. Call 911, the taller one said, tossing his phone onto his chest. Don't speak, just let them find you. And don't mention us, not unless you got a death wish. Then they walked out the same way they came, quiet as ghosts. The alarm panel never made another sound. Dante lay there for a full minute wheezing. Then instinct took over. He hit 911 and let the phone sit on his chest, open line. The dispatcher stayed on long enough to hear his ragged breathing and send a patrol car for a welfare check. By the time the officers broke the door and found him on the floor, he had his script ready. Kids, alley, pipe. Wrong place, wrong time. The next 3 days turned into a loop. Morning, somebody from the friend group at Cedars, sitting in that same chair, asking the same soft questions. Afternoon, flowers being delivered, somebody dropping off food for the nurses to say thank you. Michelle straightening the blanket like he was one of her kids. Isla cracking uncomfortable jokes. Taylor hovering and over explaining. Every single one of them asked him some version of, "You sure that's what happened?" And every single time, he stuck to his line. "Yeah, kids. Middle of the night. I didn't see they faces. They ain't say nothing." He could feel it. The disbelief hanging in the room like a smell. They didn't buy it. Not one of them. But they didn't have proof. And until they did, they were stuck in that weird space between concern and suspicion, showing up with smoothies while low-key wondering if karma finally found him. In the hallway, on day 2, T. Greaves caught Sandra walking toward the elevator. "You think he lying?" T said. It wasn't even a question. Sandra looked at him. Tyshawn's eyes weren't mean, but they were sharp. "I think he's scared," she said. "And I think the people he's scared of have nothing to do with teenagers." T nodded once, like that matched his own math. "You talked to Walt yet?" he asked. "Not about this," she said, "and not all the way." "You should," T replied. "He need the truth more than any of us." Sandra sat in her car outside Cedar Sinai, hands locked around the steering wheel like she was holding herself in place. Her heart was beating too loud in her ears. She didn't even turn the engine on. The parking structure lights flickered once overhead, like the universe was telling her, "Don't hesitate." She opened the glove compartment, pulled out the tiny black palm-sized phone wrapped in a napkin. The emergency line, Walter's real line, the one she hoped she'd never have to use like this. She pressed the first call. One ring, she hung up, pressed the second call. 2 rings. Hung up. She wiped her hands on her jeans, exhaled slow, then hit the third call. This one rang once. Twice. Then a soft click. A shift of air. A breath she knew better than her own. "San?" Walter's voice was a whisper. Careful, contained, listening behind every word. Sandra didn't talk at first. She let the connection settle, let the hum of the line tell her they were alone. "It's me," she whispered. "I know." She closed her eyes. "We can't talk long." "We won't." There was a pause, the kind pregnant with everything they had not been able to say for 2 years. "Walter," she swallowed hard. "Things are moving." Another pause, a breath, a tightening in his voice. "Moving how?" "Kendall is dropping something," she said quietly. "Not tonight. In a few days. Kiara helped her. They found pieces." Walter's silence wasn't empty. It was focused, sharp, like he was hearing 10 things beneath what she said. "You safe?" he asked first. That mattered to him more than anything else. "Yes." "Are the kids safe?" Yes." He exhaled slowly. "Okay, tell me what you can." Sandra stared forward at the concrete wall of the parking structure, tears gathering and not falling. "I can't tell you details on this line," she whispered. "But it's real, Walt. It's big. It exposes things that were done, things we didn't even know to look for." A low sound came from him. Not anger, not relief. Recognition. He'd suspected pieces. But hearing Sandra confirm movement, that shifted something in him. "You sure?" he said quietly. "Yes." Her voice cracked. "And when it dropped, things are going to change. Fast." He didn't move. She could hear it. He was still, waiting, thinking. "That what Kiara told you?" Walter asked. "Yes. And she's not who she was. She's different, but she's with us." "I figured," he murmured. "She always pays attention." Sandra looked down at her lap. "Walt, I just wanted you to hear it from me before the world sees it. I'm not letting the internet talk to my husband before I do." There was a long silence, the tender kind, the kind that belongs to people who have hurt together and survived anyway. "Thank you," he whispered. "For real." She pressed her hand against her chest, holding herself up. "When Kendall posts, it's going to put pressure on the department." "I know. And your dad will see it." "I know. And once that happens..." She hesitated. You need to be ready." Another quiet breath on the line. Waited. Old resolute. San, he said softly, I've been ready since the night they put those cuffs on me. A tear slipped down her cheek. I'll connect you with Kiara, she whispered. When it's safe. Good. And Walt? Yeah? Don't move until I say so. This time, he let a small, humorless exhale slip, half a laugh, half a promise. I won't start anything, he said, but I'm not running from anything either. Sandra nodded even though he couldn't see it. I love you, she said. I love you too. Stay alert. You too. She hung up first, then sat there in the dark, shaking. Not from fear, but from the truth settling inside her. Once Kendall dropped that video, there was no going back. On day 3 at 7:42 p.m., Kendall hit publish. This was a full 14-minute breakdown with messy influencer energy wrapped around undeniable receipts. She made it look like a story time, ring light glowing, soft curls, nails clicking the screen, but she delivered a whole case file that the original investigators never put together. She broke it into chapters. 1. Who Walter really is. Footage of him volunteering, pictures of him at his kids' school, clips from his business opening. 2. The accident timeline that never made sense. Dash cam stills, street cam timestamps, aerial footage of the intersection from Google Earth, side-by-side overlays of the falsified report versus the real one. 3. The financial motive no one caught. Screenshots of Dante's LLC filings, bank statements showing unusual deposits, updated business valuation reports. 4. The people who benefited the most. Her tone shifted, calm but dangerous. She didn't scream. She didn't accuse directly. She just laid out patterns. And then she ended with the line that cracked the internet open. If this was your friend, would you stay quiet? No background music, no dramatic pause, just her face, still, unblinking. And that was enough. She didn't say anyone's name. The internet did what it does best. Wait, ain't this the same dude that got beat up last week? So he got his ass whooped and exposed in 4K? Nah, the streets knew before the internet did, that's all I'm hearing. He looked guilty in every picture I ever seen of him, now that I think about it. If I was Sandra, I'd sue everybody. Kendall hit post at 7:42 p.m. And baby, by 8 p.m., LA was in shambles. Old receipts were getting pulled. New theories were spinning. People were arguing in the comments like they were getting paid for it. And the folks who started this mess, let's just say every single one of them felt that video hit like a slap from God himself. Nothing was going to be the same after tonight. Final update. Boy, they really wasn't ready. Not the city, not the friend group, and definitely not Dante. Kendall's expose had been live for 90 seconds and Los Angeles was already in flames. Not literal flames, but the timeline was burning down like somebody dropped a sparkler in gasoline. The very first person to see it? Dante. He was home, stretched out on his expensive sectional, leg wrapped, ribs taped, face still swollen from the mystery mugging he'd lied about. He was trying to eat soup, head down, when his phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Notifications, mentions, tags, then the video. He tapped it, and before it even hit the 10-second mark, he sat straight up. Kendall's voice, clean edits, receipts lined up like soldiers, and slide after slide, placing a spotlight exactly where he didn't want it. On his money, on his timeline, on his motives. And while no one is naming him directly, Kendall said, someone clearly benefited from Walter's downfall, and the numbers don't lie. The comments section exploded instantly. Oh, this is definitely about Dante. Bro doubled his revenue the same year Walt went in. My God, the math is mathing. By the 12th minute, Dante's hands were shaking so bad he dropped his phone. He shut off the TV, then every light. He sat in the dark, breathing shallow, feeling the whole world turn toward him, and not with admiration, with suspicion, with rage, with clarity. For the first time, he realized something ugly. This wasn't going away, and he might not survive it. Sandra had already used the burner sequence: call once, hang up, call twice, hang up, third time, he answered in a whisper. Her breath trembled. They reopened it, she said. Baby, they actually reopened it. Walt went silent, not because he didn't know. The guards were already whispering, inmates already looking at him different since Kendall's video hit the news inside. But hearing her say it, that hit deeper. How are the kids? He asked, voice thick. They saw the news at school, she said softly. Your daughter cried in front of the whole class. Your son tried to act tough, but baby. He kept wiping his face with his sleeve. Silence, painful, hopeful, heavy. Then Walt said, when I get out, I'm coming home different. I know, she said, just come home. By morning, everybody in LA knew. Kids from his old mentoring program were making TikToks saying, free my coach. They did him dirty. Even people who didn't know Walter personally felt the shift. Los Angeles loves a redemption arc, and it loves exposing corruption even more. The commander moves. He simply walked into the chief's office holding the printed expose, placed it on the desk, and said, reopen the case. We follow the evidence wherever it lands. And because the whole city was watching, nobody dared argue. An official review began. Phone records, financials, evidence logs, body cam timestamps, officer testimonies, and all signs pointed in the same direction. Dante, the officer who falsified the report, was suspended immediately. The corrections officer tied to Walter's assault got escorted out in full view of staff. Taylor's name came up in financial audits. Brian got dragged online as the accomplice who got scared. Kiara kept quiet, but her eyes said revenge. Everywhere Dante turned, something was falling apart. When Walter finally walked out 10 days later, the department tried to keep it low profile. There were people with signs across the street, cars honking, phones recording, somebody blasting Kendrick Lamar in the parking lot, a crowd chanting, Walt, Walt, Walt. He stepped out wearing the same clothes he went in with, a little thinner, a little harder, a little quieter. Sandra grabbed him first, the kids wrapped around his waist. Michelle started crying. Terrell nodded with that lawyer pride. Kiara stepped forward last, and when Walt looked at her, something electric passed between them. They weren't friends anymore, they were co-conspirators now. Dante hears the news. Back in his condo, Dante heard the cheering through somebody's live stream and sank onto the couch like his bones were dissolving, because the truth he had been avoiding finally hit him. Everyone thought this chapter ended with Walter walking free. But Marcus knew different. The city was celebrating a homecoming. He was listening for the footsteps of the real enemy still hiding in the dark. Epilogue. Some stories end loud. This one ends quiet, but not soft. It ends in the kind of quiet where truth finally stops whispering and starts standing in the doorway with his arms folded, waiting to be acknowledged. Walter had been home for 2 weeks, 2 weeks of his kids sleeping better, 2 weeks of Sandra crying in the shower like her body was finally releasing something she held for too long. 2 weeks of meals dropped off by neighbors who once avoided eye contact because they didn't know the full story. Now they knew. And Walter, he looked different, not broken, just sharpened. A man who lost 2 years for something he didn't do walks different. Marcus was the one keeping the ledger. He and T. Greaves sat in Marcus's SUV, windows cracked, the city breathing around them. T flipped to the back page of Walter's list, the names that hadn't been crossed out yet. Marcus didn't need to look. He already knew each one by memory. Taylor's name was written small, but the damage she caused, that wasn't small at all. She wasn't evil and everybody knew that, but scared people with weak spines caused real destruction. Marcus saw the footage from the gas station. Walter pulling in, confused, Taylor stalling him with a nervous smile while she texted someone under the counter. She didn't plan the arrest, but she opened the door and held it wide. And when the truth dropped, her parents, who had always been obsessed with look and polish, tried to help her hide it, tried to lie, tried to shift blame. But the spotlight did what the spotlight does. It burned everything it touched. Taylor pled guilty 2 weeks after Walter came home. Her parents sat behind her, faces stiff, knowing their family name was now tied to something they were never going to outrun. Consequences are consequences. Nobody felt sorry. Not even Sandra. Not even God, probably. Brian's damage was quieter, lost his biggest gallery sponsor, lost the respect of every person who used to dap him up without thinking twice. He cried after sentencing, not for Walter, for himself. T closed the notebook. "We crossing Brian off or waiting?" he asked. Marcus shook his head. "Let him sit with what he did, his life already handling him." Dante's name had a thick line through it, bold, sharp, angry. Marcus didn't say much about him. The accessory charges, the business fallout, the mugshot, all over the news, and that was punishment enough, for now. But the name under Dante's, that one wasn't crossed out. The officer, the corrections officer, every person who played a hand, big or small. Walter had a list, and the list wasn't finished. Marcus started the SUV, but didn't pull off yet. "You know," T said, watching the streetlights hit the windshield, "folks think Dante was the head." Marcus's jaw tightened just once. "Dante was greedy," he said, "not brilliant." "So the real one, still out there?" Marcus nodded. "And he watching all this?" Another nod. T cracked his knuckles. "You gonna go after him?" Marcus looked straight ahead, not answering but not denying. "To get to him," he finally said, "we'll have to peel back everything. Old cases, old lies, old ghosts." T smirked. "Good, I've been bored." They pulled off into the night, not rushing, not hiding. The city didn't know Marcus had already drawn new lines, already reshaped the board. And the man in the shadows, the one who used Dante, the one who set this whole thing in motion, had no idea yet that Marcus had begun preparing for him the moment Walter walked free. Because in Los Angeles, justice might move slow, but Marcus Marshall moves quieter and much, much deeper. And that's where we're leaving this arc for now. Walter's truth finally cracked open. And the fallout? Yeah. Everybody connected to this story is about to feel it in ways they didn't expect. But this is just one version of the truth, because what happened to Walter didn't start with Sandra. It didn't start with the crash. It didn't even start with the investigation. It started with the choices every person in that circle made long before anybody realized how deep the consequences would run. And in the coming arcs, we're stepping into their perspectives, the ones they never thought anybody would hear. The loyalty, the betrayal, the secrets they kept, the ones they justified, and the ones they prayed nobody would ever connect back to them. So if you thought this story was wild from the outside, wait until you hear it from the inside. Thank you for listening to Pen and Perspective, where we follow the story far enough to understand the people in it, even when the truth ain't comfortable. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next arc. Because trust me, you're going to want to hear this from every angle.